Last year, I lived in a cabin in the Pacific Northwest, just outside of Seattle. Every morning I woke up watching the sunrise over the Cascade Mountain Range. My main source of entertainment was what was happening outside the cabin. An eagle flying over the water, dive bombing into the water to get that fish, and effortlessly flying away. I developed a deep reverence in the 15 years I was at the cabin for nature. And it's where I started my business and started studying how nature operated and applied it toward ever new. Ever new means forever new. And that's what we are creating, something that operates like nature. I am a textile specialist turned entrepreneur, and I've had the privilege of making textiles and apparel for some of the largest brands, retailers, and supply chains in the world. I started my career looking for the biggest problems I could find. I like big problems and complex systems. And in 2010, I began working in materials reuse. We were taking polyester garment waste and turning it into new fabrics and making new products. And I started to get really excited about shape-shifting materials from one form to another. I just thought, this is the future. The company sent me to China to find sources of small-run manufacturing. And I'd been to China many times before 2010, but I always had a guide or a chaperone that took us to our factories, and we had our conversations. We did what we needed to do and saw what we needed to see and left. In 2010, I went in unchaperoned, and I got to see everything. The environmental damage related to the way we make textiles and apparel was so shocking. My colleague and I got out of the car. We were standing right next to each other. We couldn't see each other. The air quality was so thick with pollution. I first learned about the fast fashion business model in an auditorium at the Fashion Institute of Technology in the 90s, where I studied textiles. And it was brilliant. We could go, instead of it taking a year from sketch to getting a product in someone's hands, we could get it done in 10 days. On trend, volume went up, price went down. We all loved it. Incredible. But in 2010, I saw a massive flaw in the model. And the interesting thing about liking big problems is they also come with really big opportunities if you're willing to look at it in another way. But what I also had to come face to face with was my own participation in the industry. I had to really look at how I was acting and behaving, and I had to really question what was important to me. And what was important to me is that my work product actually be in alignment with who I am. And I realized that I couldn't participate in my industry the way that it was currently designed. I actually had to step out and try to do something new. So we started theorizing, how are we gonna take this on? And we started studying the model, and I was also watching nature outside the cabin. And we started thinking, okay, if we can take garment waste, create same or better quality products at the same or better price that is used on existing infrastructure and make everything recyclable back onto itself, we could actually create products that simulate what happens in nature. Sounds super simple. We decided to start prototyping, and when I say we, I mean my business partner, Christo Staniff, and I. We took an old t-shirt, and we all know it, like when you go to clean out your dressers and your closets, there's always that one thing that you can't wear and you can't donate because it has so much embedded value in it. I had a Strawberry Fields t-shirt my mom got me when I moved to New York City. I could not get rid of it. Every time I saw it, it brought me right back to living in New York. So we chopped that thing up. We turned it from a solid to a liquid, and we turned it back into a solid with a syringe. That was our first prototype. We put them in 3 beakers, solid, liquid, solid, and we started taking meetings with every major brand and retailer and every friend in the industry that would see us. We put our 3 beakers on the table, and we said, we're gonna start recycling everything you make. And we're not going to boil the ocean. We're going to let the power of the model help us solve the problem. We're just doing one thing. We're specifying the use of a new material, and we're going to make sure it's recyclable so it can come back into the system and simulate nature. Just to paint the picture of how ridiculous we were early on, we went into a $50 billion retailer, the boardroom door closed, we put our 3 beakers on the table, and presented a 5-year volume commitment. I'd like you to commit to 5 years worth of inventory so that I can take that and leverage it to get financing to build our first facility. And she said, "You have 3 little beakers. You can't handle a 5-year commitment." And I said, "I thought you might say that, so I've taken the liberty of papering up a 3-year commitment." And she said, "This is going to be so fun to watch you guys take this on. Come back when you have something I can hold." To an entrepreneur, that is not a no. That is like, we know what we need to do, we're going to go do it, and we're going to go back and get that commitment. So 10 years ago, I got on the TEDx stage, and I reported that we were throwing away over 14 million metric tons of clothing waste away every year in the United States. Today, in 2025, that number is closer to 20 million metric tons of clothing waste every year in the United States. That's over a 40% increase in 10 years. Ladies and gentlemen, over the next 10 years, it is my mission to get those numbers to come down. Last year, I packed up the cabin and I moved here to the upstate of South Carolina. This area, at one point in the early 20th century, over half of all cotton fabrics in the world were produced within a 100-mile radius. This was the epicenter of the US textile industry. And in the 1970s, divestment occurred. By the 90s, when I was at FIT, the industry was decimated, moved over to China. This is the perfect place to set up a new cycle garment recycling facility. And that's exactly what we're doing, and that's why I moved here. We essentially take cotton garment waste, we turn it into what looks like a paper pulp. That pulp is then extruded into lyocell fiber. We make spun and filament fiber that gets spun into yarn, made into knits and wovens, dyed, printed, and finished, cut and sewn into garments like this Pangaya jacket. And essentially, it is recyclable back into the same process. It's an exact mimic of how nature works. That's what we're building here. It's also compostable and biodegradable. So this journey, this startup journey, has been incredibly interesting because it's so deeply personal to me. The last 10 years have been full of high highs and really low lows. What I've learned is that capacity is not something that's built outside of yourself, it's built inside. And leaders who can build capacity within themselves have the ability to take on things that they never thought they could do. I learned the true meaning of leverage. It's not just financial, it's not just technical, it's ecological. And when we have the faith in ourselves and our vision, and we care deeply, we can do anything with that. Now, we've got the technology. All the technologies exist to recycle garments. We're throwing down roots here in the upstate, and we're 75% closed on our capital stack to get this dream started. Every day, when I started this company, I was told it was a technical impossibility. Don't even try. If it could have been done, it would have been done by now. I'm still told that almost every day. Scaling is too hard. Don't even try. You're never going to make it. Do I look like a woman who's going to give up on a vision? No. This is not easy because it's important, but to go through that adversity is everything, because that adversity is a muscle that you need when the whole road falls out from under you and you choose to get up and walk anyway. But make no mistake, this is a war. It is a war over natural resources. It's a war over human dignity. And it's a war over who has and does not have access to capital. The answer is not to destroy fashion. The answer is to stop destroying everything in its name. Chief Seattle was the steward of the land my cabin was on, and the chief said, "Man does not weave the web of life, he's merely a strand in it. What he does to the web, he does to himself." When we decide what we're going to create in the world, when leaders lead and investors step up, one thread pulled, the entire fabric shifts into balance. And that, my friends, is how fashion wins the war on waste. Thank you.